Hello, Steve White, TREK Prequel 89 for Steve Arts 89. Please ignore the rainstorm outside. It is summer in Melbourne. Okay, so we've got a few more rumours about the Star Trek movie drama. Recently there was the rumour of a Picard film, which is really just a rumour of a script which was supposedly written, and the possibility of a TV film following the Section 31 TV film made by basically the TV arm of Paramount. Star Trek, which is doing Strange New Worlds and the TV shows. So there's that. But then right on the heels of that, we got the rumour that they're doing a prequel. And then Vanity Fair also tried to imply that they're also still working on Star Trek 4, but Star Trek 4 is dead and cancelled. They cannot afford the cast, they cannot afford the film. Any prequel they're doing is going to be a lot less expensive. Has to be, because they didn't make any money on the Kelvin films, and they lost money on Beyond. Star Trek doesn't have $1 billion audience. It's got like a 500 million if they're lucky. So they have to have a smaller budget. That's just reality. So the rumor is now that they're doing a prequel, and there was some confusion because they said it was going to be set decades before the JJ films, and people were like, but the JJ films span 25 to 30 years. So does that mean we're going back to the start to the Kelvin, or are we going to go before that? So what they apparently want to do is to do the Robert April story. So it will be the launching of the original Enterprise and the origin story of the Enterprise itself, which I think is actually a great idea. I'm happy with that. And we haven't seen Robert April in the Kelvin universe, because here's the problem. It has to be in the Kelvin universe, not the Discoverse, which has the Black Robert April in Strange New Worlds, or the original canon universe, which has like a white cartoon April. So it's not going to be one of those Aprils, it's going to be a different April. But they've kind of set up April in the TV show, but it's not going to be that April, and it can't be that April because it has to be from the JJ films. They can't be from the TV shows because there's copyright issues. They can't, different companies, different copyright, different licenses, they can't cross the two. They're both under the same company, so they're not going to sue each other if they did, but they still can't. So that's a huge mess, because in the JJ films we actually saw the launch of the Enterprise. The Enterprise launched, I think, like 13 years later, because in the original series it launched in 2245, and by the time Kirk got it, it had been around for 20 years, and by the time they retired it, after Search for Ralph McCann's Search for Spock, it was 40 years old. They said 20 years old in the movie, but they were referring more to the refit, because they'd done like 2 5-year missions and a bunch of stuff. So that's a mess, because I think it was 2258. Yeah, 2258 that the Enterprise launched. So there's 13 years difference in the Kelvin universe, and how are they apparently going to get around this? This is all through one other YouTuber, I admit. The source is, I don't know what this guy's sources are. My source is his rumours. But they're just going to ignore the fact that we saw the Enterprise built on screen and pretend like it was being refit, and that it actually was out on active duty for 20 years before that, or 15 years before that. And I'm like, no, just establish there's another universe, different from the Discoverse, different from the Kelvinverse, or a different timeline. I guess, see, this is the problem. When the time incursion happened, the universe was created in both directions. That timeline was created in both directions. So there is the Prime universe, which is not the canon universe, that existed before the incursion, and then there's the after the incursion, and I'm not exactly sure now what year the incursion happened. Kirk was 20 something when it launched in 50s, so he would have been 44. I think I've got a date here. Is it 33? I think 2233. It's a mess. I don't see how they can make this story work in the Kelvin universe. Now, unfortunately, James Cameron P. James Cameron wasn't doing this. Unfortunately, J.J. Abrams doesn't care. He will just pretend the other film happened and just do it now, and suddenly the Enterprise exists, and oh, we're going to totally rebuild it and do a refit, and then that's the Enterprise Kirk gets, and then they'll do a total. It's like just establish a different timeline, or establish that somehow this is in the prime timeline before the incursion, so it's not the original canon Enterprise, it's not the Discoverse one, but it's not the post incursion Kelvin one. It's the pre-prime actual Kelvin prime, not the, because people pretend like Kelvin prime is the original prime. It's a mess. Just explaining it is a mess. But yeah, so those are the rumors. And the other part of the rumor was that Paramount isn't doing this. This is all Bad Robot. They put this rumor out trying to get support for it, trying to pressure Paramount into actually funding it and making it. And Paramount doesn't appreciate that, particularly when they're in this huge flux as they're looking to be taken over. So the fact that they are trying to pressure them into making this film by putting it out and saying, hey, we're doing this film, Paramount's doing this film, and then hopefully the fans going, hey, when are we getting this film? Well, the fans are sort of like, this doesn't make sense, how can it be a prequel, blah, blah, blah. So this is what they keep doing. They're just grifters. They're just trying to get people to give them money to make the films, and they'll lie and say they've actually, it's happening when it's not, because they can bluff people and give them the money to make it happen. So will it ever happen? I don't know. It's a mess. The people who are in charge of Paramount now won't be in charge in Paramount if Paramount gets taken over or merged in a couple of weeks or a couple of months or whatever. So there's no idea. There's no way to, what I'd love to see is an in-canon, original series, in-canon origin story of the Enterprise with the original Enterprise and the original, white Kirk. Not Kirk. Kirk is white. April. Because the April in Strange New Worlds is black, but we haven't seen April in the JJ films, and April was established as white in the original canon series. But I'd like to see them go back to the original canon series and do a prequel with the same aesthetics but updated, but still keeping that aesthetic, and do it that way. That's what fans want to see. It continues with a budget and some design improvements, because they can't totally stick to the aesthetic the 60s had. The basic designs work, they're superior to the modern designs, but they need to be done better. So that's what I want to see. They won't do that, but JJ will probably do a nonsensical prequel to his own films and break his own canon. That's probably what's going to happen, but there's no way of telling. And I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. This was supposed to be a 5-minute video, but I forgot about the second half, that second story about how Bad Robot basically made this all up, and it's actually not greenlit, it's not funded, and they think if they put it out there, they can pressure Paramount into actually doing it. And Paramount doesn't like that. So it hasn't worked with any of the Star Trek 4s yet, and it may not work with this unless they actually want to do it. I think the idea of a prequel, an origins of the Enterprise is actually a good movie, because you can just have the first couple of adventures, or the first big adventure of the Enterprise under April. That could be a really great Star Trek story. We might actually go into space and explore space and actually deal with something real for Star Trek, because the JJ films never explored space. They were never Star Trek films. So yeah, it could be interesting, but there's also the chance they'll just focus on the Klingon Cold War, and it'll just be a war film, and it'll just be Star Wars trying to be Star Wars. So I'm still talking, but it's a lot to think about. Like I said, it's a mess, a lot of rumors, a lot of things that could go in different directions, and we'll just have to see what happens in 6 months, a year. But I'm going to go before I get to 9 minutes. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Thanks. Bye.